Good afternoon, regular session, Mayor, City Council. There you go. Regular session, City Mayor, Mayor Council meeting, 6 p.m. Wednesday, October 6, 2021, City Hall Complex. I call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, will you please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We have one call to the public speaker forum. Sergio Astorga. Sergio Astorga here. Please state your name and your address for the record.
Hello, Sergio Astorga, 970 North Anza Drive. And I'm here to talk about city ordinance. I'm here to talk about the city ordinance that I'm just getting nervous. I'm here to talk about the city ordinance that outlaws marijuana in Nogales.
Difficult to hear, we can't hear.
Yeah.
My bad.
Get close to the mic, please.
Yeah, my bad, guys. I'm here to ask for the City Council to repeal or reform City Ordinance 2020-12-007, the marijuana ordinance. And before I get into my reasonings for this, I just want to say that during my time at the University of Arizona, I was the head of philanthropy for the Red Cross Division, and I personally knocked on, when Proposition 207 came to the vote, I knocked on doors, helped register people to vote. I voted for the first time myself during the vote cycle. And when it was passed, I felt proud of all the work we did. And as soon as I moved back to Nogales, just to find out that all that basically was for nothing, because here it is still illegal. And I looked up why it is illegal, and I was thinking it was about maybe safety of their marijuana. But then I looked at the ordinance, and it said, I'll read the following for the public. The city finds that Proposition 207 authorizes marijuana establishments and testing facilities to use chemical extraction or chemical synthesis to extract marijuana concentrate, which poses a threat to the health, safety, and security of the community, increased responsibilities of law enforcement and other cities dependent to violations. So the city seeks to protect the health, public safety, and welfare of the residents of the city of Nogales by prohibiting marijuana establishments or marijuana testing facilities in Arizona, in the city. So in simple terms, what this means is that and my understanding of this interpretation of this is that the city council is afraid that a weed factory might blow up, and that will put more inconvenience on law enforcement. And as former Councilman Marcelio Vargas Jr. said, I don't want to have that in the community. I don't think that the people that I represent want to have it. And also he followed up with saying, it would be interesting to know how the people in the city feel about the issue. At the time, I was 20, so now I'm 21, so this is just me telling you guys how the majority of our generation feels about the decision that was made. And I also sat in on the two last meetings and I took notes. If we allow recreational marijuana to come to the city, the tax revenue that would generate could fund the liability problem, it could fund sewage problem, it could also help the 30% of the people in the poverty rates get out of it by using the taxes for that. Because currently, I understand why the decision was made. It's what if something bad happens. But I urge this council to think about what is currently happening in this city. So the Nogales Sonora cartels are still funneling weed in this city, and they are profiting out of it, not the city. And on the flip side, Tucson and Phoenix are enjoying their tax money from medical marijuana, and Amado already has the farm. We just need the place and the law, and the only obstacle is, well, you guys. And in the first meeting at 10, I don't know who stated it, but someone stated when they're interviewing the future or potential future manager that we have to follow state regulations. So why, when Arizona voted yes, this council just stood up and said no to that? When it was an Arizona vote, we voted yes. The reason I'm bringing this up because a lot of people in this town actually don't know that weed is banned from this town, and I feel I kind of know my complaint will fall on deaf ears, but I'm going to do what I did here, what I did in Tucson, which is advocate, because that is what I do. Because a lot of people still do not know, and if they didn't read the Nogales International, they still wouldn't know that it is illegal here. So if someone were to pull out a joint because they believe it is legal because Arizona said it's legal, then he could arrest them and they wouldn't know why, because he would think that it's legal because we are in Arizona. But in Nogales, it is not. And I just think that should change, and I kind of hope that some of you agree with me, because even if none of you agree with me, I will still try to advocate. And I know next year there's a city council election, so in conclusion, if we legalize marijuana and let the dispensaries come, more money and more reason for young people to stay. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. You. Yes. Okay, we're gonna skip the financial monthly report, and we're gonna go into executive session. And with that, I'm gonna have to ask everybody in the room to step outside the lobby, please, because we're gonna be going into executive session. Yes. And I'm the motion to go into executive session. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Report.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Tonight, I'm going to present to you the report from August of 21. You should have a copy on your desk there. So after the second month, we should be right about 16.66% on all of our revenues and expenditures. So first, we're going to start with the general fund, which is our table A. And for our revenues, we are actually sitting at 19%. So we're sitting 3% higher than our budget at this point at $4,105,082. If you look at table B, which is our sales tax, in August, we collected $977,991. This is $482,904 more than August of 2020. Our general fund expenditures, which are broken down on table C by department. Currently, our expenditures are again at the $4,540,390. You will see the highlighted departments that are over the 16.66%. And I'm just going to touch on a few of them as to why. And please remember that this year is the first year that we have done the actual expenditures and the encumbrance so that we can keep track so that no department does go over. So if some seem really high, it may be because of encumbrances. Like for instance, the city attorney, he's sitting at 27.8%, and that is because of an encumbrance PO for Greg Solero. Our MIS is over at 29.88%. A lot of that has to do with our annual licenses that are all paid up front. As we go through the year, you'll see those numbers kind of go down. They'll start to level out. The big one I'm sure you all see is the animal control. That's at 109%, and that is an encumbered PO for the entire year. So it looks very large right now after month 2. It's okay. It's monitoring every month. The expense does come out. And another big one is the library at 26% due to roof repairs and capital expenses. And then recreation is at 20% due to capital purchases. Okay. For our HERF, our HERF revenue right now is at $442,126, and our overweight fees collected are at $68,166. You'll notice that we have a $39,984 reimbursement other. That was the money that the school district paid us back for the Plum Street project. That has finally been finished. And for the expenses, we are actually $121,265 lower than our budget at this time. So we're sitting quite well in our expenses for HERF. Sure.
On the sidewalk on the Front Street on the school.
Mhm.
Are they done with that project? Is that?
Yes.
Reimbursed for the whole project?
We got reimbursed for 50% of it, and then the school district had an additional portion that they had them do, that they took care of that payment. So this is 50% of the total cost of what was approved in the order back in March of 2020. Now on to the sewer. For the sewer, we are sitting at $599,991 in revenue. which is at 15%, so it's just below the 16%. Our expenditures are a little high at the 483,730. That is mainly because of that WIFA payment that we had talked about last month that was in our water department. We did move it over to the sewer, and that is why it shows the sewer being high at this point. If we move on to Table F, which is our water, we have collected $689,781 in revenue, so we're about 2% higher at this point. And our expenditures are quite high at $1,599,000, which is at 27%, mainly also because of the additional WIFA loan payment that we had to make in July. And the final table, which is Table G, in sanitation, we are at $469,622, or 15% for revenue. And our expenditures are at $382,133, which is 10%. So that one's actually a little low. Are there any questions?
Go ahead, Councilman.
Gina, you mentioned there was a PO for Greg Solari. Is that for an employment contract or is that a purchase?
No, it is an employment contract. He is, Mr. Massey, am I correct? He's an outside attorney that comes in?
Yes, Mayor and Council, we have a contract attorney that does our prosecutions, and he's been there, longer than I've been there.
Okay. All right, thank you. And then on your comments, you said that contracts and purchases made in July and August are for the entire fiscal year?
For which ones?
On your report?
Oh, in my report?
You state that the contracts and purchases made in July and August are for the entire fiscal year.
Well, if it's some of our annual contracts, we pay for them upfront in July and August, and then we don't pay for them anymore throughout the year. If it's an annual contract, that's how we've paid it.
Okay,
I probably just didn't add enough words in that spot.
all right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Anything else, members of the council? No?
No.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, number 5 is presentation. The first one is a proclamation of Santa Cruz County Arts Month, and I will read the proclamation. Whereas the arts celebrate the human experience through creative expression, and communities unite through culture and artistic experiences. Whereas research shows that creating and experiencing art can lower stress and anxiety. It also has the ability to help create and strengthen a sense of place. The arts can improve academic achievement, improve memory, enhance critical thinking skills, build confidence, self-esteem, and create stronger cultural and personal connections with communities. Whereas the goal of Santa Cruz County School Superintendent Alfredo Velazquez in 2021 is to raise community awareness about the various art organizations in Santa Cruz County and the many programs they offer for all ages. The Santa Cruz County School Superintendent's Office will highlight these inspiring events in the month of October, and will also host various programs and events to celebrate and create work of other students and local professional artists. Whereas Santa Cruz County Arts Month is sponsored by the Santa Cruz County School Superintendent's Office, Santa Cruz Advocates for the Arts, La Linea Art Studio on Morley, Hilltop Gallery, Tubac Center of the Arts, Santa Cruz Foundation for the Performing Arts, Borderland Theater, Howler and Saunders, Cultural Arts Committee of Nogales and Mexican Consulate, Santa Cruz County, City of Nogales, Nogales Unified School District Number 1, Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District Number 35, Patagonia Public Schools, District 6 and 20, Sonoita Elementary, District 25, Santa Cruz Elementary, District 28, charter schools, and private schools. Whereas during the month of October, informative messages will be communicated to the community via social media, radio, and signage concerning the arts in Santa Cruz County, with themes including the Santa Cruz County Superintendent's Office promoting local arts organizations, art leadership awards, arts night walk, art exhibitions, educational forums, mural projects, and workshops, and artist gatherings. Now therefore, I, Arturo Argarino, Mayor of the City of Nogales, Arizona, do hereby proclaim October 2021 as Santa Cruz County Arts Month. Thank you very much. And now B, it will be the proclamation of domestic violence, and I asked Councilman Diaz to read the proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas violence against women and children continues to be a social problem due to the imbalance of power in gender and age, and whereas approximately 1 in 4 women and 1 in even men in the United States will experience domestic violence at some point in their life, and whereas 15.5 million children in the United States live in families in which domestic violence occurred at least once in the past year, and 7 million children live in families in which severe domestic violence occurred, and whereas only 1/4 of all physical assaults, 1/5 of all rapes, and 1/2 of all stalking incidents perpetuated against women by intimate partners are reported to the police, and whereas the damage caused by domestic violence is not limited by gender, age, ethnicity, or sexual orientation, and whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to the synthetic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, economic control, and or abuse, and whereas the impact of domestic violence is wide-ranging, directly affecting society as a whole, and whereas public awareness has the potential to increase the identification and reporting of abuse of the public, professionals, and victims themselves, and can act as a catalyst to promote issue-based education and long-term prevention. Now, therefore, I, Arturo Argarino, Mayor of the City of Nogales, Arizona, hereby proclaim the month of October 21 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilman. And now, C is a presentation by the Fire Department's hazards of fuel tanker storage. John?
Mr. Mayor, I know some of you are aware we were having problems with tanker trucks throughout our community, parking and storing large amounts of fuel, which causes a health and safety problem. Our fire department and our planning and zoning department have been addressing this issue, and we've invited our fire department to give a small presentation to mayor and council on their activities. And just so you'll know, they're also planning on giving the same presentations shortly to the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors. With that, I'll turn it over to Chief Sergeant.
Our battalion chief / fire marshal, Jeff Bakari, is going to give this. He's pretty much the subject matter expert on this. He's been working hand in hand with Samuel Paz for about the last year on this. As Mr. Kissinger said, this is mostly just us telling you about it because we want to work hand in hand with the county. So super technical stuff, but if you have questions, Jeff knows most answers.
Hello, my name is Jeff Walkeri, Fire Marshal with the City of Nogales Fire Department. I want to thank my Chief Sergeant, for all his support for this. Also, the Director of Planning and Zoning, Mr. Samuel Paz. They've both been very inspirational and instrumental in moving forward with the enforcement aspect of this. And the bigger thing is trying to provide a safer community. And that's what we're kind of going for. Like the chief said and Mr. Kissinger said, not really looking for any action from you guys today, just hopefully the approval to provide this to the county. About a year ago, this kind of popped up, something we kind of dealt with. And you'll see pictures, I'll go through it. And thankfully now we're kind of at a good point where it's under control in Nogales. But the problem is a lot of these fuel tankers have moved, 1 or 2 streets north of city limits. So this is still going to be an issue from a regional response. I mean, this isn't just a Rio Rico thing or a Tubec thing. We all work together, and our firefighters are going to get pulled into this if it is anything big. And also, if you think about the smoke, the wind shift and stuff, I mean, this could definitely affect our residents. Kind of a little bit about me. I'm the fire marshal at the city. I've been here as a fire marshal for 2 years. Firefighter here for 4 years. I do have a little bit of experience. Listed on there, fire inspector, plans review, hazmat technician. So going through it, I know it's kind of small, I'm sorry. The fire code, the scope of it is these 5 things. And when you look at the first thing, the hazard of fire and explosion arising from the storage, handling, or use within structures, materials, or devices. These diesel fuel tankers definitely fall under there, whether we're talking about long-term storage over an hour or transportation and storing them on site for less than an hour. Conditions hazardous, the second one, conditions hazardous to life, property of the public. We're there again with another issue. Fire hazards within a structure or on the premises from occupancy or operations. And we're there again. 4 doesn't really apply, but number 5 is the big thing. I was a firefighter with the city. We got 42 firefighters here. They're all like family to me. And their safety is number 1 to me. And that's why this is so important, because looking out for these guys. And number 5 on there is safety affecting firefighters and emergency response during emergency operations. So hazardous material is kind of a broad term. And in the fire code, it is a broad term. So I listed the 2 subcategories. It's either a physical hazard, something that can hurt you from the outside, burns, explosion, stuff like that. And it lists some of those chemicals. And then there's the health hazard aspect of it. A lot of these chemicals don't really fall under the health hazard. It's more of a physical hazard. But even a health hazard, it's based on the toxicity of that chemical and the quantity of it. So diesel fuel tankers is how it all started about a year ago for us. There's a picture on Old Tucson Highway. And I put the placard on there. At first, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's a diesel tanker. It's about 10,000 gallons. It doesn't really seem like a big deal. And I understand that. But the thing is this can snowball and get bigger. These are 2 pictures, actually both in the city of Nogales. The one on the left is actually off North Mariposa. There's about 30 tankers out there at 10,000 gallons apiece, and you can see they're pretty cramped in there. So access would be very difficult for us, and there's no hydrant within the immediate area. So we'd be pretty hard pressed to put that fire out, not to mention 300,000 gallons of diesel. It has a pretty high probability of being bad. It is also, you can kind of see in the background, the border patrol stations over there. You start talking about smoke pushing that way, and these are people that can't just leave, obviously, the people that they have arrested. They can't just leave, and that's why it's kind of an important thing also. The very first one was actually on Apache Boulevard in I-19, and it buttered up to the county complex where the jail's at. Again, we can't have these people just leaving. At least we shouldn't have them just leaving. The one on the right's actually a picture. Again, that's one on Apache. And you can see the dark spot on the ground. These tankers don't always seal correctly, and some of them do leak, and they are stored either empty or full. There's really no way to tell from the outside, but the fire code does address them the same. And you can see, I mean, that's a pretty good amount of diesel on the ground. How long it's been leaking, I don't know. Could that potentially contaminate our groundwater? Possibly. And so you're thinking that's bad, and I agree. And this is about a month ago over on North Mariposa, 330 North Mariposa. And there's actually a refrigerated methane tanker. You can see there's no tractor on it. Somebody could easily come in, hook up to it, leave with it. It is full. And the two things that makes this even more hazardous than the diesel fuel is the simple fact that DHS, Department of Homeland Security, requires these to be like registered, and there's certain enforcement things for security because they can be used for a terrorist attack. So that's kind of a big thing in my mind, especially with federal buildings around here, that could be an issue. The other issue is, if you look on the top left, it actually says refrigerated methane. So these are stored below freezing, and that's how you get a gas into a liquid, as you cool it down a lot. Now, the problem is, this tanker is obviously unattended. This is roughly 10 o'clock at night. If something fails with that, and it fails to refrigerate, it fails to keep cool, that liquid expands to a gas and can actually pretty much explode like a bomb. So that was pretty serious to me when I saw that, and there's nobody around, nobody monitoring it. So we've had about 4 tanker companies since we've been dealing with this over the last year. There's a map of Nogales. I kind of cut a little bit off because that's all I could get. But the red dots, mostly on Mariposa, a little bit on North Grand, are all the areas in Frank Reed, or all the areas they've been storing them. So there's only 4 companies we've really dealt with, but there's 10 dots on that map. So the problem is, you know, our enforcement aspect from the fire department, from planning and zoning, goes on the property owner, not the actual tanker. So the thing is if you store it on somebody's property and then they find out it's a violation, they tell you to move, you move it across the street, you move it over. Well, now the clock starts all over again, and we got to go through the beginning for enforcement. We are very fortunate. We do have a conditional use permit process. The fire department, planning and zoning have been working on. I have attached the requirements. There's 2 different stages. One is less than an hour, pretty basic requirements. I think there's like 5 or 6. And the big thing is, if you look on that second page, is they're required to put a sign up with what chemicals are there, emergency contact information, and the MSDS sheets. So when our responders show up, we know what chemical we're dealing with, and we can react appropriately to it, which is huge. It's better than going there blind, not knowing what we're doing, because some of these are water reactive chemicals. Over an hour, the conditions, the requirements just go up. There's like 9 pages. You can see them. There's a lot. So kind of what we're doing is, obviously we have the permitting process. And so going through that, we try to get all 3 of these things in there. And this is the education part, is just teaching the property owner why it's important, some of the hazards associated. Engineering I put on there because we're following the International Fire Code and the NFPA requirements. So we're kind of building those safeguards into place. And then the last thing is the enforcement aspect from planning and zoning, and they can do a zoning violation if they fail to meet those requirements. We do have 4 active conditional use permits for storage less than 1 hour. They haven't had an issue meeting those requirements. We originally had 5. One of them did fail to meet those requirements and was revoked. But yeah, that's kind of what I gave you. The permit process is on there. The requirements are on there, some of the signage. And this is what I'd like to present to the county so they understand kind of some of these hazards that are pushing into the county area from the city and the importance of it. So I don't know if there's any questions. I'm pretty much done.
You plan to bring something back to us after planning and zoning, you come up with something, or for us to do something in regards to regulations or something, or you're just going to keep on top of this, just making sure things are safe?
Yeah, we're keeping on top of it for now, and the reason why we got together with Department of Emergency Management, planning and zoning from the county, and the fire districts about 2 weeks ago, and we want to bring it to the county, the same presentation, to kind of tell them what's going on. And then we're still looking at a possibility of trying to find an ordinance somewhere else that we could bring back that allows us to do something with the tankers, because it's pretty much a hopscotch game right now. But we spend an inordinate amount of our time making sure that there's not random tankers around town. So, but yeah, we'll stay on it. If anything changes, we'll definitely come back. And when we get a little further with the county and the other districts involved, then we'll bring something back if we come up with something.
Great. You know what you can bring to us, and I don't know if you can get it, is that Kingman levy.
Yeah.
the council, that'd be, I've seen it. It'd be something to see, to put it in PowerPoint so they can honestly see what it can do.
Yeah.
A levy that basically took out the whole fire department and a bunch of DPS officers in one shot,
Yeah, we can definitely get that sent
Yeah,
out via email
that-
if you guys. Yeah.
Did you get to see that one, Chief?
Yeah.
Have you seen it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
A
definitely.
levy is actually an explosion of liquid petroleum, and it's expanding liquid, expanding explosion, and they thought they had it under control, and it exploded, and almost the whole Kingman Fire Department died, and a bunch of DPS officers doing traffic control. That's how easy something could happen with one of these tankers.
Yeah.
It was part of the training I took when I was in the fire department, so.
And that's our big fear.
That is a perfect power short video that you could show that, so that people can understand when they see something like this, they have, especially propane. Propane creates an icicle where the leak is at, because it's very cold. And once that catches on fire, it's hard to put out, and once it starts boiling and cracking, and that tanker goes, it goes. It's very, very dangerous. We used to have that problem downtown. That we used to have trains, I know John remembers that when he was in the PD, trains coming with liquid petroleum from Mexico. And one time we had one leaking right behind Old City Hall. And we had to shut down the whole city until we took that train and that tanker all the way outside city limits. And matter of fact, the person on the train was the former mayor, Mayor Fontes. I remember that. He stayed on the train until it went outside the city limits. But if that train would have sparked, it had been leaking almost all night when they discovered the icicle on the thing. So it's very dangerous. It's something that we should be on top of it.
Mr. Mayor, so this problem is a unique problem to Nogales. And I'll explain that. Most communities are going to see tankers roll through their town. You might see a tanker roll up to a Circle K. He empties his fuel or his diesel, and he's on his way. What's happening in Nogales, Mr. Mayor, is that companies in Texas are exporting fuel into Mexico and going through the port of Nogales. These tankers roll into the city of Nogales every day, and there's huge numbers of them, and they need to wait for the exportation papers and the Mexican government to catch up to the exportation. So what happens is they're finding dirt lots or lots within our community. They're approaching the owners of the parcels and making deals with them. Can I park trucks there? Typically, they're not coming and getting a business license. They're not getting an inspection. So the fire department just happens to roll up and find that we have a whole bunch of trucks parked on a dirt lot. And that's where we start looking into the owner of the property and saying, hey, listen, the activity that you're doing on your property is illegal. You need to stop. What happens very quickly, they tell them to stop, or they go get conditional use permits, which put some regulations on how to do this activity, or they can just go to the next empty lot and try to work a deal. What we found was we basically were chasing them around, and they have gone towards up on Bodega Drive in that area. So now they're just north of the city limit, outside of the chief's jurisdiction, thus the communication with the county to protect the entire community and let them know what's going on. So, and these trailers that are coming in full of fuels to go into Mexico, the opposite happens when they come back. So as they come back, we have huge numbers of trailers being parked that are empty. And as a former fireman, and I think the fire chief can attest to that, an empty tanker might be even more dangerous than a full tanker. So, just that's the gravity of the problem that we're looking at. But I'm happy to report that these gentlemen are on top of it and taking care of it for us.
Good, Chief. Good work, because they park at our stores, Walmart, and hotel parking lots and stuff like that. You know, you don't want to leave something like this in one of the hotels or overnight and then something happening right outside of a hotel or even, you know, our parking lots in you know, Safeway, Mariposa, Loma Hills, or Walmart or something, to have something like this happen right in this area.
But at least
Good
those,
work.
Mr. Mayor, are hooked to a tractor, and there's hopefully a driver somewhere close that if something does happen, we can move it. In these cases where there's, you know, 30, 40, 50
Yeah, they're by-
with no tractor
Yeah.
and nobody around, nobody's going to move them if they
catch on fire. Yeah.
So that's a huge problem, and I'm glad that we're addressing it.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
Go
Appreciate
ahead.
it.
Go ahead, Councilman. Councilman's got some.
Thank you. For a while, that picture was basically in front of Divine Flavor across the street on Mariposa, and I got a lot of calls on, you know, the fear of something happen right there. Have you guys imposed, you know, you said you were talking to you could only go through the property owners. Do the tankers, the companies have any liability on this?
Well, I'm sure they have liability, but the problem is right now is that it's the only person that we have to be able to contact is the property owner. For enforcement perspectives, there's nothing we can actually do to the tanker companies right now because there's not an ordinance that says, hey, you're parking illegally on private property and we can cite you for that. So that's what we're trying to figure out by searching other people's ordinances to see if there's something even similar we could bring back, because what this has happened is overnight they'll move from one location to another, and like we would shut them down one place, the next day they'd be somewhere else. I'd park in front of their gate, then they would call the property owner, and the property owner would come over and we'd be like, you can't do this, and then they would move again, and it's just been this cycle for a year now. And finally, the people who have conditional use permits in Nogales are complying to the 1 hour, and that's fine. It's just there are several companies still, like Mr. Kissinger said, have moved just north of the city, 2 blocks north of Meadow Hills. There's 300,000 gallons of diesel sitting up there, pretty much unattended. So it's, and there's nothing we can do right now, either in the county or in the city, to deal with the trucking companies specifically. We can only deal with the property owners.
So, Councilman, tankers of fuel run throughout our country every day, all day, and they are stored at, when they get back empty to a big fueling depot, that's where they leave the tankers. However, they're inspected. There's rules. There's distance. There's fire hydrants. There's fire extinguishers. There's placards on the fence that says, in case of emergency, this is who you call, so they can move them. And that type of activity would lend towards a safe movement of fuel through a community or what have you. What's happening here is they're not doing any of that and just parking them on a dirt lot. So that's why the tanker itself, it's not illegal what they're doing, it's allowing them to do it in the manner that they're doing it.
Yeah.
The property owner isn't getting the proper zoning permission to allow this type of activity.
I've got a call from one of the companies that are there, from the employees, and they were outraged that the Nogales Fire Department shut them down. And so I told them, let me check, let me talk to the city manager and see what's going on. And it wasn't even when the next day when I called them, hey, you guys are being shut down because of this and that. They go, oh, don't worry about it. We're Rio Rico now, and so don't worry about it. We'll just start from there. And also, what caught my attention, I said, where's the owner? Well, the owner can't cross right now. He doesn't have a visa, so it's pretty hard. I understand how you guys can't actually pinpoint an actual owner, because either they don't live here, they're from across the border. So I think that most of these businesses. I work for companies for Ford Motor Company. We did their logistics, and we got on a daily basis, I think like 8 or 10. We went through receiving gasoline, and we got an empty one, but everything just moved back and forth. Nothing was really left there for more than an hour back then. But this is crazy. I mean, I had not seen that amount of.
Yeah, and part of it has to do with, so there's one of the companies is based out of California, another one's based out of Texas, there's another one based out of Mexico. And the truck drivers that are bringing the empties back, there's only a certain radius they can travel up, and so they're having to stop, and the American companies are bringing down loaded tanks, and that's why they're leaving them, is because there's not really good coordination. But the companies that are in Nogales currently that have the conditional use permits are making it work where they're less than 1 hour switches. And it's, they're doing a good job of the people who are doing it the way we asked them. The other people are just continuing to move around. So,
how many of these businesses have the fire hydrant and all the prerequisites that you guys ask? Is there at least one that has all the fire hydrant?
So that's the thing. Is typically your fire hydrants are going to be in more of a residential area or high commercial area. These are kind of a little more spread out, which is good. So if something happens, but the problem is they don't have those requirements. The only requirements we're asking, because out of the 4 conditional use permits that are active right now, they meet the requirements that are on that sheet, and having a fire hydrant on site is not one of them. But if you go over an hour, that's something we're asking for, is that fire hydrant, the foam, the suppression. Even people on site, security, stuff like that, or a secure area I'll use. But as of right now, none of them have a hydrant within, I'd say, 300-400 feet.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chief. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good presentation. Number 6, reports. A, John, update on annexation.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Staff doesn't have an update to present to Mayor and Council at this time. Our consultant, the Planning Center, Maria Mas, are continuing to put the information together on the cost-benefit analysis and other issues as it relates to annexation. I know they were in discussion with the state because part of the annexation area includes state land. State land needs to sign off before annexation, so I know they were in conversations with them. And they've also been in conversations with landowners in the Keno Springs area. So when they're done doing their analysis and putting their report together, at that time, we plan on bringing something back for Mayor and Council considerations. Sir.
And will we have the complete map and everything process? So that
depending on the negotiations with the state and seeing if the state will sign off on it, the state land would be included. If the talks with the state don't go well, then there might be a recommendation with a different type of map without state property on it. So it's a moving target, but when the Planning Center has something a little bit more formal put together, we're planning on bringing it back to Mayor and Council for their consideration and approval.
Thank you very much, John.
Yes,
Is
sir.
there anything
Mr. Mayor.
else I want to say? No? All right. Yes.
John, have we collected any pro or con information from residents out, in the area of the annexation to give us any feedback?
Mr. Mayor, at this time, we haven't had our public outreach meetings on annexation. Those are planned in the future. At the first steps that we're doing currently is putting together a cost-benefit analysis, and like I said before, negotiating with the state and talking to large developers. out in the Keno Springs area. Once that is completed and we bring it back to Mayor and Council, if Mayor and Council chooses to move forward with annexation, then the next step would be to be scheduling meetings with community outreach. It's a little premature at this time to start those. We need to get that cost-benefit analysis and get in front of Mayor and Council so you can make a decision on annexation, sir.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, so we'll go to B then. An update on the dog park. Mr. Kissinger.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. The update on the dog park, this is a dog park that's in Meadow Hills, and the person who can probably give us the best update and who's out there the last with their boots on, getting them dirty, would be Renee. Renee, do you mind giving us the update on where we're at on our dog park? I know you have some numbers and stuff to share with council.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, the last time we were out at the dog park, we did measure it. We have a conceptual map. And I did get some prices on some fencing. And to get the higher gauge fencing, it would be $36,000. And to get the lighter gauge fencing, it would be $27,000. So we are working on that as well as finding more pricing on water receptacles, waste receptacles, and the other things that we want to add to make this park beneficial for the community.
Do you have any timeline or something that?
Well, it all depends on the funding now at this point, because we do have 15,000 put away, but I mean, just the fencing itself is going to run us more than that.
The funding, all we have to do is just bring it to the council so we can make a decision to,
Yes.
increase that if we have to. But I mean, you don't have all the costs yet.
No, I'm still working on that.
Kind of like ballpark figure.
Right.
Okay.
Ballpark, we're looking probably about, if we go with the lighter gauge, we're looking at about 38,000.
38,000.
And there might be some additional costs, Mr. Mayor, and we've been working with our water department, take some water out there, of course. We're looking at the future development out there of the dog park. So we'd like to tap off of a water main and take water out to the site for fountains and for the dogs and stuff.
That's in-house, everything.
In-house, but there's a cost for materials, supplies and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure we'll probably require a backflow, but I know that our water staff is working to put those numbers together, and we want to bring back, I'm hoping by next month, a complete budget and possible some funding options for it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, go ahead.
Renee, that would be chain link fence, right? And have you given any thought of approaching the residents and see if we can get some donations as far as trees and landscaping materials?
Actually, we've already in that process. I know Mayor has been working closely with the Boy Scouts to get trees donated from Home Depot, and the Boy Scouts themselves will be planting it to get their badges.
All right, good, thank you.
We told them that we would dig the holes, Councilman, with the city auger. And the Boy Scouts said it was okay, and all we have to do is, all of us go out there and just help the Boy Scouts put the tree in the hole. Echamos tierra.
You said Home Depot's donating the trees and some of the landscape?
Yeah, they're going to help
Yes,
us
sir.
out.
Okay, thank
And
you.
I believe, Mayor, you have some others that are going to be building benches as
Yes. And then looking at some benches also, and the Boy Scouts want to, those little bridges that they built so the dogs can climb up and do exercises, and they want to do that too. Because some of them have to get their patches. And the Boy Scouts, so they want to use the dog park as to be able to get their badges for certain things. So it'll be a community, event, volunteer, and we're going to be using the Clean City, Healthy City initiative too. So once we do that, we'll put it out, and then we'll have people go out there and help us out. They're very, very helpful every time we put that out there. So it'll be a nice thing for.
Is somebody helping with the drawings as far as like an obstacle course and that, or are we just doing it?
Yes.
Yes, we have several conceptual designs, and our city engineers putting together some conceptuals Right now, we just did the actual dog park itself. Once we get that footprint and the funding to do it, then we'll move towards putting a conceptual design for the actual obstacles and stuff like that. The good thing about the obstacles, typically, they're not fixed, so they can be moved around or replaced or what have you. We're focusing right now on just doing the fixed access.
The fence itself.
The fencing and the water.
And dividing it for the small dogs and the large dogs.
And we just wanted to make sure, and during the last month's meeting, they talked about naming the park, but we never found the name of the little dog that you lost. So
Yeah.
we're wondering the name of the dog because
He said it was.
it would be important.
Squishito or something like that. No, what was it?
We're hoping the dog was named, the little puppy was named Dog. That way you can just name it Dog Park. But it's important to know the name
You're
of the
going to have
dog.
to spell it for us. ¿Cómo se llamaba? Singwis. I forget his name.
Singwis Park.
Singwis, something like that.
Okay. Well, I'll talk with you after the meeting to get that spelling.
Please, Councilman.
Have we looked into doing any solar lighting or anything like that for the dog park? Instead of, I think it's,
Hey, that'd be a good idea.
you could control them. There's some great solar lightings right now that you could control them to turn on for 4 hours or 2 hours or 6 hours. And, instead of putting electrical
Yeah. Usually
power
dog
there.
parks are not used at night, but, maybe we can think about that later on. It's going to have a nice parking lot in the front, right by the road. It's going to be off the road, and then for vehicles, and then they're going to be able to walk over that bridge where that pond is at, and the first two ponds that go into Middle Hills. It's going to be right in that area right there. If you go over there, you'll see where it was created.
Did you bring the conceptual?
I did not.
What do we
So,
think of putting lighting? Might as well look at the posts while we're doing the fencing.
I've got it in email. I can throw it up there.
If council's interested, we can throw it up on the screen right now, or I can print a copy and put it in your box for tomorrow. It's still in
Conceptual.
in draft phase. We haven't finished the conceptual plan to bring back to you because we're waiting for water department to show us where the water lines are going. But I'm glad you brought up the lighting, and maybe we can ask Juan to add lighting to it, and then see where that takes us. Because we started off with trying to work with a $15,000 budget. So,
Yeah, but I know it'll probably be a concern of the residents around there, but, but if we could control it to a certain amount, time, that'd be ideal, almost like we do on the tennis courts, that they shut off at 10 o'clock.
I know I don't believe there's any electricity out there,
So go
but
solar.
there might be, but I can look into it.
Yeah.
Or solar.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Kissinger, have you reached out to G's Cutting Services? They're the ones who wanted to donate the sign for the dog park. I gave you the card from them already. Have you reached out to them?
I have not.
Okay. Well, I think it'd be
I
wise.
think this is the third time he tells you that.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, I know.
So, it's not that I'm counting, but it is 3 times.
I will task that job out tomorrow immediately.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kissinger.
Good job.
I
Yes,
just
go
have
ahead.
one
Go.
question. With a budget so limited, are there going to be public bathrooms for humans?
Yes, in the original conceptual design, we don't have any bathrooms contemplated. If mayor and council believe that maybe we should put bathrooms in the dog park, we can definitely add those to it. I know the cost will go up, and the cost of maintenance will skyrocket also with bathrooms. Just going out and cutting grass is easily handled by Parks and Recreation. Going out several times a day to clean restrooms becomes much more problematic. So if you're asking my opinion, I think that restrooms become very problematic. However, staff will take direction from council and bring back whatever recommendations you all might have.
One of the reasons I asked is because some of the residents have asked me if there's going to be public
Sure.
bathrooms.
Yeah, we have a current park out there with no restrooms.
Yeah, I realize that.
Restrooms in parks are problematic, you know. I know some residents don't want any restrooms in a park. Some do, so.
Yeah, well, just wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It'll be a growing, deal.
As long as we get water.
Once we get something, then things can be, include things with one year.
So
another stuff.
one of the ideas is, so since we started talking about this for restrooms, would be that the golf course has some pretty nice walkways already built into it. So one of the ideas that we thought about was we can develop the walkway all the way to the Children's Museum. And we know that the Children's Museum has restrooms and it'll be, somebody there all the time taking care of them. So maybe we contemplate using the Children's Museum as restrooms if anybody in the dog park wants to use a restroom. Not the dogs, though. We'll take care of that separately.
Yeah, because I see the chief walk his dog every day, and I see him bring 2 little bags every time he comes back. And I go, he takes lunch with him? But then I notice he throws it in the trash can right outside his apartment. No, I guess it's not lunch. He's got 2 dogs, huh, Chief? But I think those dogs walk you, Chief. Huh? Yeah. One of them does, though, the big one. He's got a big, what is it, Chief?
It's a mix of a Catahoula mix with something big.
Yeah, so very big.
Something big.
Yeah, it's a very big dog and a small dog. He walks them every morning. I'm drinking coffee, looking out the window, watching them walk around the Hermosa.
You're lucky, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I know. All right, we'll move on. C, update on Tatia Park. Go ahead, Jeff.
Renee?
Oh, go ahead, Renee.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. I did want to just bring back the concept that we will be moving forward to, so that it's nice and fresh in your minds, which does have bathrooms, Councilwoman. Our expenses for Phase 1, this sheet is based on Phase 1. City of Nogales cash match commitment was $562,157. We did get a grant from the Arizona Developmental Disabilities Council for $27,000. As of April, we have paid out vendors $220,761. So City of Nogales subtotal at this point is $809,907, and that will also be matched by the LWCF grant. So again, I just put in red what we've paid out to date. What's next at this time? The application is with National Park Service. They did give us a call about 2 weeks ago requesting a Class 3 survey be done by an archaeologist. At first, they weren't requiring this because there was already a park there, but when it went through their panel, they requested it done. We did get that done on Friday. We got the results today. No archaeological problems. So that has already been submitted back to NPS. And they're telling us it should be anywhere between 30 and 90 days that we will hear back from them. So we're really hoping to get groundbreaking by the end of this year.
Good. Go ahead, Council.
Those $220,000 that you paid out, is that for engineering and architectural
Yes, sir.
cost?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good one. That's good. Good report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we have D, that's update on Old Tucson Road. John?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Old Tucson Road. Old Tucson Road's, we've been speaking with the county on Old Tucson Road. The county is very interested in the city improving that piece of Old Tucson Road that's failed. They were so interested is that they indicated that they would do the work for the city, and the city would only have to buy the material. However, our engineer, after looking at the county proposal, said that methodology of the repair would not be sufficient for our needs, and thus the plan was rejected. Mayor and council has authorized us, so we went out and engineered it, so we have engineering plans ready for Old Tucson Road, and I believe that the estimated cost of Old Tucson Road is $650,000, which Mayor and Council has budgeted for. So we do have the funding to go out to bid out the project and start the project. However, the county is still interested in partnering with the city on funding, and those conversations have been going on for the last few months. I know that Councilman Bojorquez, you've been involved in some of those conversations on site. I've been there with you. I know that Councilman Bonilla has been heavily involved in negotiating with the supervisors on that issue. I've had many discussions with the county manager on cost sharing. And so we even had communication back from the county engineer today, right, Juan?
That's correct.
That they're interested in cost sharing. So we're coming very close on pulling the trigger to bring in a bid and starting the project. We're just trying to leverage as much funding from the county as possible. And the reason why is because that particular road services very few city residents. The road actually goes mostly into county businesses and county residents. I think there's only one business that actually has nexus to that section of Old Tucson Road, and that's that pallet business. Short of that, nobody on the city would be accessing, and no city constituent would be accessing, needing access to that road to get home or to their business. Yeah, that's kind of my report on that. I don't know if Councilman Bonilla has more to add towards that.
Yes, I do. I had a conversation with Mr. Guerra a couple of days ago, and he was telling me that he needs to do a top-up survey, right, with a drone and. Yes.
In the next 2 weeks, I will have a topo aerial topo, and a photo aerial, and a topo.
Right. And we also discussed that the $650 that we allocated for this project, in reality, that quote that you got from Innova, right?
Correct.
And
Innova and Basis Caribbean, two contractors.
So, in reality, what we discussed, or that you informed me, was that it was going to be more than $650,000. Is that still in?
That is an assumption that is correct. Yes.
Okay. So when you say 2 weeks, you're going to be having that, and then you're going to give us the new numbers then?
Right. I need to define a better scope of work to get a planning profile for the area after getting the photo, and then I will be working with the county for the design of a pool diverter. They are willing to help us with that. They said that they will help with everything related to drainage, to improve the drainage in the area. And so once I have that planning profile, I will be able to prepare the bid schedule accordingly to compare apples to apples and get quotes more accurate.
And you also, we talked about also the county not giving a number as far as them helping. They give more of a percentage, right, of what they would. It's like a 30% or something like that?
You are correct, yes.
Okay.
30% of the total cost, which is $650,000 estimated priorly. But
she's not picking you up. You might.
Sorry.
I appreciate it. Thank
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, that you are correct. The county committed to help us with 30% of the cost. At this point, knowing that the city of Nogales, the mayor and council has set aside 650,000, I really don't know how much the county will contribute at the end. So, but I'm just guessing that whatever it is, the total cost of the project, the county will match that difference. That's what I'm guessing now.
So let me ask you this, Mr. Guerra. How far is it in the list of priorities as far as finishing the projects? Is that the project for this street or that piece of street? Is it within this budget's year or when do you think you'll get around to actually doing this project?
Well, let me tell you, we have, thank God, we have a lot of projects in the very aggressive capital improvement list. This is one of them, and obviously it has a lot of work to do. Preparation of the planning profiles, and this time we want to do the work right. I mean, do it right. We have already a paving design. We need the topo. We need the photo aerial with current failures of the road. To identify all the existing utilities within the area to see if we will have challenges with the existing IOI when we are crossing the road. So we want to do the things right now. So to respond to your question is, I'm just guessing that if we'll have the topo and aerial photo in the next 2 weeks, according to the vendor, I'm thinking that by maybe November, December, I can have the planning profile for that road, and maybe bidding the project out in January, February, more or less.
All right.
Thank you. Any question?
But I don't know if you understood the councilman, but you do consider it a priority?
It is a priority.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I just have a comment. I know that Mr. Kissinger said that we have very little traffic for city residents on that street, but unfortunately, I don't know, when they designed that road, they made that little section part of the city, and it's not part of the county, so actually it's really the city's responsibility to maintain that.
Yes, it
piece
is
of road.
the city's responsibility up to Calle Chico, where we live.
Right.
Yeah, to the end of Villahermosa.
Right. So any help from the county is well appreciated.
Yes, I understand, Council. You're right about that. Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. All right, discussion items. A, discussion, direction, possible action, donation of 10 unusable garbage bins, 65-gallon to Albergue para Migrantes San Juan Bosco, Nogales, Sonora. Councilman Bonilla.
Gentlemen from this organization approached me the same day that I asked for the approval of the 35 bins. It's a different organization. They specialize in migrants that have been deported from the United States into Mexico. They also have women and children that are there, or some of these women have been the victims of rape. So they hold them there. Until they either get funding to send them back from the countries they come from, but mostly they've amassed quite a lot of trash because they have between 300 and 350 migrants there that have no means of getting back to their country, or so they need these 10 bins. And I will ask the mayor and council to approve these bins for that organization.
I move to donate the 10 bins, unusable bins to the albergue. Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
On the discussion, are these new bins or are these the same as the last time?
This last time.
All right, thank you.
B, discussion, direction, possible action on police officers monument project. Did everybody get the drawings? Yeah, the picture? Project in Cordova Park. I placed this on the agenda I've had discussions with one of the members from the police department and several times actually within the past year or so. And you know, with recent things that have been happening throughout our country and all these officers that have lost their lives, and recently one just lost his life in Tucson. You know, we should have our honor park here at the City Hall, or actually Cordova Park, enhance it a little bit more to be the honor park, because we do already have the honor wall for veterans, and which all veterans and from all wars we cherish and we protect, and we always look at it, and people come see the names of all the people that have enlisted in the military and fought in all these wars. And I think that's very important for a community to have something like that. So I'm asking the members of the council for amending our budget to be able to get the brass monument placed in the park in a location, and just the brass monument, the pad itself or the pedestal itself. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they spoke to you, Mr. Thompson, that would be part of the police union?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the council. That is exactly true, Mayor. The pedestal will be something that would be funded internally by MPOA, the Nogales Police Officers Association, and this is just the first of many enhancements to follow if we secure funding for the casting and pouring of the bronze statue.
Another thing, I spoke with Victor, a police officer. He said that he's also, if you see on the picture, you'll see the pavers where the officers are standing. Some of those pavers have names of families and people, and some of them are probably fallen officers. But what Victor was saying, that he's looking into having people from Nogales, residents of Nogales, buy into it too. You know, you purchase a paver, and they'll inscribe the name of you, or your wife, or your family. It all depends on the cost of it, how size of a paver you want. And once they have plenty of them, they will be installing it around the monument, so that people, when they walk up to the monument to see the soldier, I mean the officer, they'll be able to identify it and see the residents have been part of this. And I think that's very nice. That's something very commendable that our police department is doing, and I think it'll be something that people will really take charge of. You know, say that they're proud of it, and also say that they're helping out with this for our officers, and you know, and like I told Victor, I said, you know, it's if you notice the officer's kneeling down, and he's kneeling down for a reason, because of fallen officers, you know, and he is in prayer. So that's something we don't want anymore, you know, but it's something we have to live with. So, you know, and the cost of the monument, I believe it has a range of between $35,000 and $50,000. It all depends. So I'm asking the members of the council that we amend the budget, John, to be able to, you know.
So would it be prudent, Mr. Mayor, for me to work with Mr. Thompson and figure out a budget on this and bring it back for mayor and council for a budget amendment for parks? Is that?
We could do that, but you know, it'd be nice if we could do it now, you know, as soon as possible, not wait until January.
I just don't have a number.
Yeah, yeah, because you know, what I was told is that Victor talked to the artists, or the companies, and that's what the average is. But I mean, if you want a complete quote, a number, maybe either we go out and find out, Victor can tell you what company does that. Did you have that?
Actually, Mayor, members of the council, we do have a rough estimate per se. A lot of things depend on what's happening out there with the metal that'll be poured. We can certainly get that within the next couple of days and get together with Mr. Kissinger and put together a budget per se, and then come back to mayor and council for an amendment or contingency, whatever the solution may be for funding.
So what you really want to know is where can we get the money to? Or if we have the money?
Well, Mr. Mayor, you heard earlier, we have contingency money in the general fund. This would be a general fund contingency hit. I can bring back an order doing the mayor and council have to approve the expenditure of contingency money. So, you can give me a number now and we can work with it. I can bring back a budget for your approval.
But you want something exact number? An exact number?
You better, huh?
Or not to exceed number, or,
Yeah.
I don't know how you wish to proceed.
Okay, well, why don't we do that? Just get that, go after that and talk to Victor, because he's talked to the artist,
Yes,
I
sir.
think, or the company that does them.
Yes, he has.
And then because we do have to coordinate with police union for the pedestal, and who would do that, and because you don't want to have a monument delivered to you and not have a pedestal for them to mount it. So get all that information for me.
Yes, sir.
Victor, I thought he'd be here with us today.
He's actually working right now. He's got another 15 minutes.
Yeah,
I
well, that's
told
all
him-
right. That's
told
all right.
him not to rush in.
We can wait. We can do that. But I just wanted to bring this to you, and because I think this is something we need to do for our police.
So I'm planning on bringing, hopefully our next meeting, dog park budget adjustment, and maybe we could just bring both of these back at the same time, so.
Okay.
So you can make the decision on.
All right, thank you. We'll just leave it as that.
Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Thompson, I'm looking at the drawing and you're pretty near me here. Is the rest this verbiage going to be down here, or can you tell me a little bit about that?
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
So there isn't a decision on language at this point. I think that's something we can discuss a little bit later to see what kind of language we would want. Input from mayor and council would be very much appreciated. Chief's opinion on that as well. So I think there's still some work to do that. This is just a concept of what we're overall looking at. Nothing said in print per se, but once we do that, any suggestions or any language we have created would definitely be brought to mayor and council.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Council.
Mr. Thompson, is there a designated location for this monument?
So far, the area that has been identified, and this is, again, in discussions, would be directly below us. If mayor and council is familiar with the actual side door to the chief's office, it'd be in that immediate area, closer to the fountain that we have. That basically be right smack in the middle of the whole building. And just for future thought, the union is anticipating to actually have a couple of flagpoles, so we can do the actual full honors on those days. But it would be immediately in front of the fountain. And the pavers would go around that, not to encroach on the actual flagstone to the fountain.
And I think Victor also mentioned if he does have a lot of residents that want pavers, he wants them on the walkways.
Definitely.
Yes, approaching the monument. Yeah. Okay. All right, then we'll go with that. We'll just leave it as is.
Thank you.
Okay, C, discussion, direction, and possible action. City attorney assisting city council members with personal manners. I placed this on the agenda with Councilman Bonilla, and this is in reference to an incident that happened some days back. I'm sure you all received the emails I was surprised with that and concerned at the same time. First of all, I don't think there was no need for myself or any member of the council to be involved in something like this, but that's the reason we're here, to discuss that and give some direction on how to proceed with anything like this, because so happens that when I received the email, it was sent on my city phone, and that one stays in my office. So I wasn't aware of it until a day later when I got a call from a member of the council. If I had read the email, and I said, "What email are you talking about?" And then he explained it to me, so I came to City Hall, and then I was approached by another councilman that went to my office, and then another council. So, there were concerns. So it's something that I think it was important for us to inform and to make either a policy or to discuss this in public, because we should not be placed in a position like this as council. So it's something that I think Mr. Maldonado should be able to address, and his manners, and I think what happened was a personal issue. It wasn't city business. It wasn't no reason why we should have gotten involved, and I honestly believe I don't think there was no reason why Mr. Massey should have gotten involved. So that's the reason I placed this on the agenda.
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Councilman Maldonado.
Thank you. Yes, an incident happened, and I approached Mr. Massey on our own free time and basically made a comment. This is it's under investigation, so I would like my privacy to be respected. I never gave Mr. Massey any direction. We talked about what could be done and who to contact and all that. When the email came about, I was as surprised that, and in a way, afterwards, talking to Mr. Massey, glad that he expressed it to everybody, because we weren't hiding nothing. Last thing I'm going to do is hide something from anybody, and I'm, confronting. However, the incident happened. I asked him for legal advice as a civilian, because I'm also a city civilian, and I asked him, what can be done and how and all that. So he proceeded and did what he did. And, I respect Mr. Massey. I respect everybody, the community and the city council. And I hope things get addressed, because, like I said, the incident happened. I was not just going to stay quiet with what happened. And Mr. Massey just try to help. Mr. Massey, if what you did was against, policy, I think, being legal, which you should have probably told me, but I never did it to harm you, harm anybody in the council. And, it is what it is. It happened. And, you give me the legal advice that what should go on. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Council.
Thank you, Councilman Maldonado, for clearing that up with us. With that said, I just want to read brief the emails that we got and what went back and forth so that the general public understands what we're talking about. Right now, we as council members know what went on, but I do, for the record, Mr. Maldonado, I'm not trying to hurt you or anything, just to just read the emails and try to sort out the misunderstanding that went between our city attorney and Councilman Maldonado. With that said, I'd like to read the emails. This one went out from Mr. Michael Massey, September 21st. It says, Director Ramirez, please consider this a formal FOIA request as well as a pre-litigation hold that the Mariposa Port of Entry preserve videotape evidence of the encounter between Officer Peña of your department and Nogales City Council member Jorge Maldonado. This encounter occurred approximately between 100 hours and 2100 hours on Sunday, September 19, 2021, at or near the secondary inspection point of the Mariposa Port of Entry. Mr. Maldonado was driving his brown 2005 Ford F-150 back from his ranch in Mexico, slowly passing near the X-ray machine when Officer Peña, who was on foot and guiding a commercial truck, claimed almost hit him as justification for handcuffing and detaining Mr. Maldonado for about half an hour. Additionally, we are requesting documents showing the names of the other officers working secondary during this shift, as Mr. Maldonado states that there were approximately 8 of them standing around witnessing this encounter. Please let me know if there's another or better email for an appropriate person to make this request to. Also, I would like to be happy to engage in further communications relating to this matter with your attorney if you would be so kind as to put us in touch. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Michael J. Massey. Mr. Massey later received a response from Officer Levine, and he said, good morning. We received your FOI request regarding an encounter by a private individual with our officers at the Port of Nogales on September 19, 2021. While we can process this request on your behalf, we recommend that you file this via our CBP FOIA system using our online FOIA request form. Instead, by filing a request using the system, it allows you to create an account and track progress of the request as well, provide visibility in our FOIA tracking system to our FOIA specialists. Because it appears this request is on behalf of someone else, this also allows you to submit either a Form G-28 or a written notarized consent. Provide a clear and detailed description of the record or records being requested. This information will help expedite the search process. Please include dates, times, officer names, if available, certificate numbers, type of document, entry numbers, etc. The number detail you can provide, the better chances we will receive the information you are seeking. Please be aware that I am responding to your email on September 21st, 2021. I am not the FOI POSC for our agency and will not be able to provide feedback or respond to questions. Please advise us if you would prefer that our office process this request as noted above. However, if our office processes this request, you will not have visibility on the progress of the request. Respectfully, Brian D. Levine, Chief of Staff Director, Field Operations, Guadalupe H. Ramirez, Tucson Field Office, U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And what caught my attention also was the response from Mr. Massey. He said, Dear Chief of Staff Levine, thank you for your prompt and informative response. I will advise my council member to proceed accordingly. And that is why we are here today. It is the optics of this situation. It looks like Mr. Maldonado asked Mr. Massey to move on this. My question to you, Mr. Massey, today, did Mr. Maldonado ask you to do all this?
Mr. Mayor and council members, Mr. Maldonado explained to me what happened, and then I took it on myself to go ahead and request the evidence, because the evidence of something like this is the most important thing you can get to determine what happened. and the evidence being the videotape. So I didn't use any city, at no cost to the city. Yes, I used the city email, but it was no cost to the city and very little time of mine. And so when a council member brings a matter to my attention, my initial reaction is to try to help. And that's what I was trying to do. And if the optics is bad, I understand that this job goes with that sense of maintaining a sense of decorum and dignity with the city council, and I understand that I overstepped that. So, yes, I'm ready to accept direction and policy from council.
And the reason I asked, Mr. Massey, is because all our names were attached to this. Am I correct?
Yes, and I copied all of the council members. And that, again, is to be as transparent as possible. But I think in reflection, I could have blind copied you, and then that would have not created the optics that we're talking about.
What were you planning on doing? Let's say that you got the video. What would you be planning on doing with the video?
No, I would have given it to Mr. Maldonado with the recommendation that he seek legal advice.
It's because I accept Councilman Maldonado's explanation. The whole issue with this that I have, Mr. Massey, is that there's a saying in Spanish, say, mejor pedir perdón que permiso. Have you heard that expression?
Of course.
Okay, this is what this is to me. Yes, you're being transparent, but you're transparent after the fact. So you did it first, and then you informed us. And that is where I have a problem. I generally believe, Councilman Maldonado, and I believe, Mr. Massey, that you didn't intend, to violate any policies or anything like that. But, I mean, you got to admit, this is what people in Nogales always come back and tell me, no, que son compadres, no pasa nada. Ellos, you guys work it out, your compadres, your buddies, and it's a small favor, and this is what it looks like. And I personally want to clear that up with the public because it just looks bad. It looks very bad. And I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it. Why did you take upon yourself? And then it says here, please consider this a formal FRA request, as a pre-litigation hold on the Mariposa Port of Entry to preserve the videotape evidence. And then in the second paragraph, it says, additionally, we are requesting. So the we is it you, Councilman, or we as mayor and council? So that the language, and you had a chance to end this when Chief of Staff Levine responded, but you responded. It says, thank you for your prompt and informative response. I will advise my council member to proceed accordingly. Why didn't you take this opportunity to end it right then and there, Mr. Massey?
Mr. Mayor, may I respond? I am a graduate of the Naval Academy. I was an officer in the Navy for 11 years, and the attitude that I was taught as an attitude of leadership is you praise in public and you reprimand in private. You and I have spoken on this, Mayor, and I thought that we were put this, in the right proper posture. I do not like being reprimanded in public.
You're not being reprimanded.
It sounds like I'm being reprimanded in public and I'm being cross-examined.
Mr. Massey, I'd like to clear something up. I think you're a person of with very high ethics. But the problem here, Mr. Massey, is how it looks to the public, the optics of it. I know, as I clear it up to you, you meant no harm. Am I correct?
Right, and I will also.
I still believe you. I'm not questioning your if you want to run around circles around. I just need to know. The public wants to know, Mr. Massey, how we got to this, or there's a big misunderstanding. So let's clear it up.
I would have appreciated, Mr. Bonilla, if you had asked me that when we spoke in private, and I would have answered you fully. I am not going to answer cross-examination.
Okay, Mr.
I serve the council at their pleasure. If this is something that you feel is way over the line, you have the means to take the action you need to take.
Mr. Massey, the reason I didn't ask you when we spoke about this, can you imagine that I had asked you this in private? Then I think it would have looked worse. And like I said with Councilman Maldonado, I'm glad he cleared it up. And that's all I asked for. A public, that we inform the public what happened, Mr. Massey. I'm not cross-examining, and I'm sorry if I came off that way. But I just feel that we need, as mayor and council, we need to clear our names and with this problem. That's all.
Okay, let me say something. I had spoken with Mr. Massey about this, and I told him that in no way that we would, there was no disciplinary action on Mr. Massey. He told me what had happened. The thing is that, first of all, Mr. Maldonado shouldn't have spoken to Mr. Massey about this. Period. This you take care and do it yourself. If this happens to you, you take care of it. If you get a citation in Tucson, you don't bring it to Mr. Massey to clear it for you, because it's not his duty to do that. You pay the citation, you take care of it. You get in trouble at the port, you take care of it yourself. All right? Mr. Massey wouldn't have known about this unless Mr. Maldonado wouldn't have said something. So, first of all, why bring it to Mr. Massey's office? There's no reason. And I spoke to Mr. Massey about this, and I said, this is not what the direction I want to go with it. But I told him also, Mr. Massey, there's several councilmen that are very mad. Because I myself, I kind of felt I got thrown under the bus. Okay? And probably you too. And there's two more councilmen that went to my office. And the vice mayor spoke to me about this too. And why would they speak to me about it? Because they're concerned about it, okay? But you're right. There's got to be transparency. There's got to be transparency, Councilman Bonilla. But at no time we need to discipline our city attorney for any reason. But what we need to do is like that. Those emails came out with a problem that Mr. Maldonado had. I think maybe a letter from Mr. Massey, clearing us from it, that the city council had nothing to do with it. I think that would be one of the things we could get, and we need to make sure that we continue having good relations with customs. As it is, we don't have it. And this could cause relations with customs, because I don't want them to think that I or any of you are trying to litigate something like that. And I know Mr. Massey wouldn't want to litigate something like that. It's Mr. Maldonado's problem. He needs to get an attorney and litigate that. He needs to get somebody else to go looking for that tape. It's not us. Because once it was sent to us, it became public. And that was my concern. And then, and the people in the CBP and Customs, well, anybody would tell you, once they get it, they go, oh, the mayor and the council are now requesting the tape. You understand what I'm talking about, Mr. Bonilla? Okay? But at no time, we need to have Mr. Massey get placed in this position. What he did, he was doing it as a gentleman, and he was doing it also as our attorney. He might have got drawn into it because of what happened, but at no time should a councilman go to our city attorney to have him deal with their problems, or your problems, or my problems, or Mr. Maldonado's problems. at no time. So what we need to do is set policy and have Mr. Massey help us set policy so that we don't have Mr. Massey or any attorney in the future have to deal with our issues. Okay? We're big boys here. We deal with this. He needs to, we're in it now. Let's resolve it. But the worst thing to do is, worst thing to do is to hide this and not do anything about it because it's already out there. Emails are for everybody to see. Anything that comes through Mr. Massey's office, through my office, is public. Is it correct, Mr. Massey? Everything's public.
Yes, my intent was never to hide what this was about.
And I know, Mr. Massey, that when you did this, you were probably saying, I told you in the office it would have been nice if I would have gotten a phone call and we would have talked about it before you sent the emails out. But you put it out there. You let us know. But then, then you get the second one and stuff like that. I think we need to stop communicating with customs, Mr. Massey. And if we can get some type of letter, telling the customs and people that this is Mr. Maldonado's issue, and it's up to him, and you're, at the same time, Mr. Massey, and the members of the council.
Yes.
We need to do that, I think, to be the best thing. But let's keep that in mind. And just by what we're listening to, Mr. Massey, that goes to all of us speaking to any of the directors, because we do have a policy. We're not supposed to be speaking with them and giving them direction and having them do what we want to do personally. We need to stop that too. So this came around, and look what we put Mr. Massey in that position. And no time should we end it, Mr. Maldonado. You should never have talked to Mr. Massey for no reason.
It was just a comment.
Even if it was
just a comment.
Even if it was a comment.
An honest comment of an issue that happened.
Yeah, but even if it was a comment, Mr. Massey was placed in a position that he wasn't supposed to be placed on, and it's not fair. It's not fair to put Mr. Massey in this position.
It was not.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Originally, when I heard about this, I thought, am I involved? Because they sent it to me. We're not saying something about you, Mr. Massey. It was not your problem. You tried to help him like you would try to help any of us. We know personal problems are personal problems. You don't work for us in personal, and you did it. I mean, you did it as a favor. I know it was not your intent to get us involved, but it looked like we are involved, and we're not. I'm sorry, we're not.
And I'm welcome to take any comments of yours anytime, Vice Mayor. You have my phone call. You can call me.
Yeah.
And so I would say, talk to me right away if I do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. That's never my intent.
Oh, I know. And even though I asked you that I never got the email, remember I called you and I said, maybe you don't have my email.
Yes.
And then you send me these. But I knew the information right away. And I thought, well, what's going on? I have nothing to do with this. I wasn't even aware. And it's a small town. News goes so fast. I not even had the email, and I already knew the information. So that means was not only me. Maybe everybody knew it already.
Vice Mayor, it happened to me too, because Mr. Massey doesn't have, or John, they didn't use my personal, just for information, my cell phone, city cell phone, stays in my office all the time, so it wasn't sent to my personal phone, my Gmail. So I wasn't aware until I got a phone call.
Yeah.
And that's when I found out what was going on. But with stuff like this, and I want to say something, Mr. Massey, that even though the way things were done, to me, it was transparent.
Yeah.
Because you let us know about it. Mr. Massey, you let us know about it. because you did send us an email. But I think what Mr. Bonilla is saying is probably the process, the follow-up and everything. And maybe, the thing about it, and I can understand Mr. Bonilla feel the way he felt, is that something you shouldn't have done, or we shouldn't have been part of it, and we wouldn't be having this discussion. But it's easy for you to clear it up, Mr. Massey. I know you can take care of it just by a letter and advising. Please advise Customs and the people in Customs and all those people that, in no time, there's a mayor and council involved with this, and this is Mr. Maldonado's issue. And from now on, they need to address Mr. Maldonado, not you, not this office, or not City Hall for any of that. You're not representing the city on this issue, and I'm sure you're not representing Mr. Maldonado. So that, I think that probably clear this up, Mr. Messi. Mr. Bonilla, do you understand?
I understand perfectly, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Messi. Once again, I apologize if it came off aggressive. I don't think you did it with malice.
No.
I understand that. I think you're a person of high morals. But I just wanted to clear it up before, with our constituents. I don't want it to look like the good old Pell, that is all, Mr. Massey. In no way did I want for us to, take action or anything on you, but it does look fishy.
Yes, you made your point very clear, and I've got the message, Mayor and members of council, and I do appreciate you saying the kind words that you said, Mr. Bonilla. I really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, Council.
Okay. Thank you for the discussion and everything. I hope everybody's got it clear. The only thing I will say, Mr. Bonilla, thank you for holding my privacy.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody have anything else to say? Besides that, Mr. Messi, would you just take care of that later?
I will certainly take care of that.
And then we'll just let this go like that. Make sure that all of us get that letter.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, let's proceed. D, discussion, direction, and possible action on county park and parcel located in Monte Carlo neighborhood. John?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So it's been brought to my attention by several council members that there's an interest that Santa Cruz County give us two pieces of property in Monte Carlo. One is a park commonly known as Las Canchas. It's at basically dead end, well, close to dead end Sonora on the right. I'm sure all of you are very familiar with it. And another piece of property that's off of Calle Trinidad. It's where there's a big S in Trinidad. It is Trinidad, right? Yeah, on Trinidad, where the big S is. I don't know if you guys, where Mr. Velosa lived, right across the street.
Yes.
The wedge that's in there. The county's into, both of those are county property. They've been county property forever. They were never transferred over to the city. So the county's also very interested in my many conversations, almost daily conversations with Jennifer. We talked about it. I have negotiated on behalf of the city that that I would bring back a recommendation to mayor and council that we do take those parks. I think it's in our best interest. We have the means to maintain those parks. Renee's doing a very good job, and we've actually put some crews out there to maintain the parks a little bit, to spruce them up and everything, and we found that it had little, if any, impact on our operations. So we think that we can maintain Las Canchas, and we believe that we can take that piece of property on Trinidad and turn it into something that would be beneficial, like another small green park, or I don't know, maybe in a dog park. I don't know. However, on behalf of the city, I took the liberty to try a negotiation with the county to say, hey, listen, I'll take the 2 parks because we're better apt to service parks. And in return, I would like to recommend to council that you take a piece of property that we own that I have up on the screen here. That piece of property is basically an arroyo that goes down Industrial Drive behind all the warehouses. So as you come down Industrial Drive, you go across a little bridge there, you can see where that arroyo starts. So it's parcel 10204.028, which is basically a wash. The reason why I thought it was Mariposa Wash. Yeah, it's a wash. It's an arroyo. The reason why I thought it would be a good idea to negotiate with the county that we exchange these types of property is because, as we all know, the county runs the flood control district. And just recently, we had conversations with the county about doing a flood control project in the area of Produce Roll with the bridges. And one of the reasons why the county backed out of doing that flood control project, which was going to be funded mostly by NatBank, was that they didn't own the property. So they were coming to the city and saying, we would love to do it, but we don't own the property. So I said, well, what a great way to help the county flood control district and let them own the property. So the county engineer, Mr. Help me with his name. Jesus Valdez, and the other gentleman, Leonard Fontes, came back with a counter offer and said, no, we really don't want that piece of property, but we would rather have another piece of property that's north of Baffert that the city owns. That's the piece of paper that I handed out to you today. It's just north of Baffert Drive. It's adjacent to detention pond that we have out there that we acquired, I think, way back in 2004, sometime back at that time. And they'll say, we'll trade for that piece of property. Well, I'm not opposed to making that trade. I'd like to look at it a little bit closer. I just got this back from them because I told Jennifer this is on the agenda. I need to talk to mayor and council. This is their counter offer. However, I would like to go back to the county with your permission and direction to ratchet it up our negotiations a little bit and tell them, yes, we will take the 2 pieces of property in Monte Carlo, the Trinidad and Las Canchas, basically take it off your hands. You don't have to maintain it anymore. We'll maintain a park. You can walk away from it. And in turn, we can consider giving you both properties that you can use for your flood control projects, being the property that they initially refused and the property off of North Baffert. I would also encourage council to assist me in this effort and make your phone calls or your communications to your favorite supervisors to help push this along. Mr. Mayor, that's the report I have on.
Could you identify the one north to Bedford before we even start talking about it next time?
I handed it out to you.
Okay, so
you have it in your
square.
You have it in a handout right there.
I saw it. Okay, is that the one? It's not. You don't have it in a park.
I can bring it up if you want to see it.
Yes, show it to us. The one.
No, Calle Nogales, and can I? Let me get it. I'll give you a parcel.
Is it a retention pond? Is by Casa Bonita, John?
He's talking about that one?
Oh, está la Casa Bonita.
I didn't get a copy of that.
I apologize.
Looking at Judy?
Yeah. It's Casa Bonita, John?
Parcel number 103-06-0002, not by the apartments.
It's 2 Delta.
002 Delta. There it is. There it is.
There it is. I just
103-06 002 Delta. If you see, right there.
Calle Nogales. Empalme Nogales.
That's north of Nacosari?
Yes, sir. North of Baffert, north of Nacosari. Undeveloped.
There we go. So it's dead in Calle Empalme.
Right. So they would like to build a detention pond there to help with flooding issues. And if you click on that, it comes up to our name.
John?
Sir?
That's prime property right there.
Yeah, city property.
Yep, City of Nogales.
Oh, well, that's why they want that one.
I think we need to sit down and talk
But it would be
about
for
that.
the flood control district, it's not
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the.
yeah, I can understand that.
Throw me out.
Is this a retention pond right just as you go into Casa Bonita? But it's been filled with
There's one in the
sand.
north too. Didn't we purchase the property from the
Yes,
Chamberlain
yes.
family?
Uh-huh.
$3 million or something like that for that.
Oh, D. There you go. Sorry, guys.
Isn't it, Mr. Messi, in the direction where we wanted to put those water lines in the future water tank?
Did
No?
we have a discussion on that?
A while back.
The water tank site, according to my recollection, is up in Meadow Hills. This is.
No,
below-
but
not
on
Meadow
Vista del
Hills,
Cielo.
but Vista del Cielo.
Yeah.
At the very, very edge of the city limits.
Yeah, but were we gonna make a connection to Monte Carlo through an area like that?
That was dead in Sonora.
Was that?
For a future development in that area, they wanted to put a booster and tank.
That's what it was, huh, Alejandro? See, Mr. Messi?
Is that there, Alejandro?
No, it's not.
Just a little further up.
Yeah.
A little further up, okay. I'm
So,
just
and Mr. Mayor, this is hot off the press. I got this today.
Let's think about this one. Seriously, think about this one. That's a good property right there.
But I think the point is, I'd like to.
I know, they just don't want the wash.
I just don't want to
in the
take
industrial
over
park.
two parks without horse trading it for something, and I think that would be, one of the things we could do is horse trade it for that wash, which is the only purpose that a government would own that wash is to do flood control measures. I don't even know why we own it, Mike, but it's not
The wash?
Yeah, it's not an easement or right-of-way. We actually own the parcel.
The development is at least 40 years old, Mayor, when it was, this goes back to the late 70s, early 80s, when Mariposa Industrial Park was platted. And usually you would plat something like that as an easement, but then and I think maybe the plat does say that the Mariposa Wash is some sort of an easement but then later on, even after that, they literally drafted a deed and deeded it to the city, and the city said, sure, we'll take the wash. We love owning washes. And it was a good deal for the developer, Mayor, I guess, but
I don't know if I should say that, but I think one time there was some bank protection issues that needed to be fixed there.
Yes, sir.
But they have the flood control.
They have the flood control.
They have the flood control, and but Mariposa Wash is ours.
Yeah. I know Mr. Bonilla is very interested in both parcels in Monte Carlo. And
So, yeah, there is some bank protection that needs to occur along that wash. And as we found out just recently, that the flood control district is shying back from doing bank control protection if they don't own the property. So what a better way to say, okay,
now you own.
Let's fix it. Here you go, so you can get it done. They see it as a liability, and it is a liability. It needs that improvement, but they have the funding source and the taxing authority to address these problems. So that's why I'd like to continue that conversation, and I encourage you all to help me
All right.
with that conversation.
Let's proceed, then just, I guess the direction, John, is just continue with the negotiation or that dialogue with
With the county.
Jennifer and the county and see where you go, and then if you need our assistance and stuff, then we can do ours.
Well, I'm kind of reaching out that I need your assistance for
Okay.
now, so if you can help me, I know Councilman Bonillo's over there shaking his head like he's ready to jump in here too, because he wants those two parks, so.
Well, yeah, and that one parcel in Monte Carlo, it's the back part is a wash also. And when I spoke with one of the supervisors, he said that he was willing to hand it over to the city. And from, if I remember correctly in our conversation, he said that he would also do the improvements that's needed on that wash. I'll give him a call if that's still viable.
Yeah.
On his,
And that one parcel on Trinidad is next to a wash, but when the county was able to build the detention pond that in Calle Sonora, it took a lot of those flooding issues away.
Yeah.
And we don't have the major issues. Unfortunately, on Mariposa Wash, we haven't had that large detention pond built yet by the flood control district. So we do see flooding issues coming down the Mariposa Wash.
That parcel on the little wedge there on Trinidad would only
No
be
problem.
good for a green area.
Right.
A sitting area, it wouldn't be good for a park. But the Concha is pretty good for the kids, and it'd be nice for it to be one of
It's not
your parks.
It's not a major flood problem,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
It's not. So let's take it in that route, John. Let's just proceed with that, and I don't
Yes, sir.
think we need to vote on this. Except for just direction.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Let's move to orders. Number 9, orders. A, consideration possible action of order 2021-10-056, an order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, authorizing the purchase of 20 laptops and mounting hardware and peripherals in the amount of $116,961. The labor cost in the amount of $29,100.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
B, consideration possible action of order 2021-10-057, an order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, approving an agreement to distribute opioid settlement funds and directing staff to opt in on behalf of the city to pending national opioid settlements.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Vice Mayor, could you take the next one, please?
Yes. C, consideration and possible action of order 2021-10-058. In order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, reappointing Mrs. Nancy Fitzpatrick to the Nogales Santa Cruz County Public Library Board.
So moved. Second.
Do I go?
Discussion?
Any discussion? None. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. D, consideration and possible action of order 2021-10-059. In order of the City Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, authorizing the Finance Director to transfer the budget authority from the Sewer and Water Contingency Fund in the amount of $141,225.86 and $381,698.78 respectively to the Sewer and Water WIFA loan budget lines for payment of the 2021 WIFA loans.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
E, consideration and possible action of order 2021-10-060. In order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, appointing 2 members of the Nogales Municipal Development Authority Board of Directors.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any questions?
So you want to let the public know who they are?
I don't have it right here.
Yes.
It's Lucy Gonzalez and Marta Hanesian.
Hanesian.
I thought people should know.
Are we all?
Thank you.
Are we
Aye.
all in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Me too.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, resolutions. A, consideration and possible action of resolution R 2021-10-005. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, opposing and in all efforts to defund the police.
So moved.
Questions? Do you have the resolution? Are you gonna read it?
You want to read it?
Well,
Do you want me
please
to
go
read it?
ahead, yeah.
Okay, I'll read it. Okay, a resolution of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, opposing any and all effort to defund the police. Whereas a free society depends on the rule of law, which is the foundation for the preservation of public order, peace, and individual rights, and whereas the just and unbiased enforcement of the rule of law and the protection of innocent individuals against lawbreakers is the essential function of government at the local, state, and federal levels, and whereas the law enforcement profession is inherently dangerous and police officers risk their lives every day, and whereas in 2021, 319 federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement officers have died in the line of duty. And whereas in 2020, a total of 374 federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement officers died in the line of duty. And whereas law enforcement officers are entrusted by the public to uphold the law, and whereas understaffed police departments and undertrained police officers increase the risk of encounters that result in the use of force, including unjustifiable or excessive force, and whereas defunding the police would leave police departments understaffed and undertrained, while also increasing the risk of violent crime to our community. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the Council of the City of Nogales that the City of Nogales shall, from this time henceforth, oppose any and all efforts to defend the police. Passed and adopted and approved by the City Council of the City of Nogales on this 6th day of October, 2021.
Thank you, Councilman, for reading it.
Okay.
All right, did you have any discussion on this at all? We had a motion.
We have motion and second, Mayor.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. 11, Mayor and Council's report on current events. I'll start with mine. Back on September 1st and 2nd, attended the League of Cities and Towns Conference. September 8th, Vaccination Collaborative Partnership Meeting. September 9th, Nogales Night Out event. September 11th, 9/11 Remembrance Ceremony, which was very nice. September 16th, Judge at the Santa Cruz County Fair, a student art exposition in the county in Sonoita. September 18th, Fiestas Patrias celebration, another fine event. It was nice. September 20th, Telemundo interview regarding border travel restriction extension. And I told him that was the last meeting I would talk about that, because the next time I talk to any radio or anything about that, it's when they open the border. Said, I will not talk about this again. September 23rd, Arts Month collaboration meeting. Great meeting. I was asked to be part of a committee with Phil Velasquez and a group of people, all relating to art and events, cultural events, and everything that has to do with the arts in our city and county. September 28th, State of the City Address, very nice. I want to thank the members of the council on that, and I want to thank all the staff that participated in that, especially you, Renee. You were a great help, and your team was there, and John did a great job, and Mr. Thompson, thank you very much for the work you guys did, and to making sure that it was a success and well-informed State of the City address.
Facilities too.
And facilities, too. Yeah, facilities was part of that too. September 29th, read Proclamation at the FOP Fallen Officers Memorial Event. That was another great event at the downtown. I spoke to some of the people that participated on that, and also the ones that actually made it happen with the FOP. And I told them that hopefully next year, if we proceed with a project for the honor wall, Victor, we talked about your monument already. We're going to be bringing it back. We do the officer in prayer, and we start doing the pavers that Victor's going to go after, and the pedestal and everything. This is where we can be having that event instead of doing it in the middle of the street at downtown, because this park would be perfect for the FOP's Fallen Officer Memorial that they have every year, and make it a tradition, having it right in front of City Hall, right in front of our honor park here for police officers. So, let me see. That's it. That's all I have. Vice Mayor?
Well, it's been a very, very busy month, but we are focusing right now on the Dia de Muertos event that is going to be May the 30th at Caram Park from 5 to 9. I just want to let you know we're working the city, the Cultural Arts Committee, Escuela Mexicoil, the school district, and the Consulado Mexicano. It's going to be a great event. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work for the mayor and for Renee and for everybody involved. So I think it's going to be great, and thank you everybody that wants to cooperate.
That's all she knows how to do, is making sure that I work.
That's what you said
Yeah.
the last time, huh?
She always just
Party
wants to-
girls.
just
you
make
know?
sure.
Let's go ahead and keep partying.
She's kind of mad at me because at the State of the City address, I said she was the party girl. So now I guess I'm going to be stuck with helping her from
Forever.
now on. Yes.
I heard you say May the 30th.
I'm sorry, it's October the 30th.
Okay.
May. We have something planned for that day.
Oh, you're just going a little further too. Jump in. You're going to next year. Councilman Diaz, you're next.
Thank you for
Okay, I attended the Fiestas Patrias, great event, Esther, great event. State of the City address, the Fraternal Order of Police, the Officer Memorial at Caram Park. Everything was, it was a very busy month for us. It looks like we were here every single day at City Hall, but we got a lot of stuff done, and I'd like to thank Parks and Recreation and Facilities for sprucing up Cordova Park and putting on the LED lights. I mean, you look outside, it looks like daylight out there.
It's nice.
And I believe they finished on Friday, so kudos to you guys. You did a great job, and now you could drive by and you could see City Hall now. Thanks for that. That was great. We are gearing up for November 11th, Veterans Day. We're already getting everything lined up so we could have the parade and the speeches at the Wall of Honor and the reception at the BFW Hall. I already have my Officer of the Year for BFW. Thank you, Chief Bermudez. And Chief Sergeant is already, we're going to do the 3 firemen and 1 EMT to honor them through the BFW. And we will from our post, we will go to district, hopefully state, and then national. So it always works out that way. Hopefully we'll get somebody to go to national. We've done it before. We can do it again. So we're working hard to make that happen. And that's all I have for right now. Thank you very much.
Councilman?
Thank you. Just everybody attended the State of the City on September 29th. The FOP Officers Memorial on the 29th, and the State of the City on the 28th. Pretty much that's all I have. I do have an invitation to all the council. If you guys want to help us, we're going to do a Little League closing ceremony on October 18th. It's a Monday at 6 p.m. at Little League. Hopefully we get all the kids there and give them a medal, and I want from Switch Hats and from Little League. We want to thank you for allowing us with the fields for this fall ball that we had, which is something new that we had never done. The kids have really enjoyed it. It's been a challenge, but I think it extended the kids coming out and playing, and I've heard very good things about it. Hopefully we could continue it in the future years. So October 18th at 6 p.m. If you guys want to join us, give out the kids their medals, we would really appreciate it. Thank you.
It was a busy month. I feel honored and privileged, Councilman Melendez, for allowing me to participate because I've seen those events done year in, year out, but this was my first year, and I'm looking forward to working with you and for future events.
You still got a lot of work.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Yeah, I attended most of the events that were mentioned here before. I just want to touch up on the city address. I think, I know I've been pestering the mayor for the longest time, trying to get him out to speak to the public about what the city's been doing. But unfortunately, during the COVID, the pandemic, we weren't able. I think the mayor did an excellent job. I heard a lot of positive comments, a lot of good comments from the people, from the residents of Nogales, and that's all.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Councilmember?
Nice thing about being the last one, you don't have to repeat everything. So, yeah, a lot of activities going on this month, and thank you all for being there together as a team, and that's all that I have for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, so future agenda items?
I just have one, Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Because I've been asked, Mr. Guerra, on any report on the Frank Reed Apache Boulevard paving. I've been asked a couple of times where we're at. You guys did part of the Frank Reed Apache Boulevard. I know you guys did part of the sidewalks there, but I've been asked about when everything else is going to be done. Just give us an update, please.
An update, yeah.
Update. Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
I got one.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
An update on the delinquent water and sewer accounts. If we can get I know that when we talked about it, 4 or 5 months ago, there was an outstanding balance of like $600,000 more. If maybe we could get new numbers and just see how that's going, coming down, if people are paying on payments or what they're doing to get their accounts fixed. Just an update on that. Thank you.
Anything else? Councilman? Go ahead. You?
Me?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, I don't know what the light situation is in the city, but I know that there's a lot of dark streets, particularly the one from Baffert Drive all the way to Frank Reed. It's pitch dark. I was driving down the other day, and there was a person in a bicycle, and he had a little flickering light, and I could barely see him. When I passed him, I didn't even notice he was on that street, but it was so dark. I don't know if that jurisdiction is from the city or the state or who.
Actually, that's a dark area. I don't think they have any lights there, John.
So, Mr. Mayor, it's been brought up to my attention before. The lights are out on Grand Avenue from Baffert to Frank Reed. The reason why they're out is because they're doing the Mariposa upgrade project. If you notice, they got brand new poles up and they're doing brand new lighting. I'll bring it to the attention of ADOT first thing in the morning, Hector, but so then do you want me to put it on an agenda item or just give him a call? I can just give him a call tomorrow.
But John, I think where the council was talking about, there's a section there are no poles for lights.
Oh, there is no lights.
There's no light poles like from yeah, to Tractor Supply. If you go from there to Franklin, there are no poles, no light.
On Grand Avenue.
On Grand Avenue.
Okay.
There's poles on the side, on the west side, but they don't have light fixtures. But from Franklin North, there's poles and lights, and then from Baffert, the section there, that's the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's lights there. But that section is so dark.
So dark.
I mean, there's no light fixture. There's nothing.
So I'll talk to ADOT about it, Councilman, and I'll put an update on next month's agenda to tell you where we're at on that.
Maybe we can use, even if there's no poles, you know, the big ones, maybe on the side, on the west side, they can put a fixture, you know, I don't know if the city or Unisource or what, just a small fixture like the ones that put on regular wooden poles, just temporary, but there's no light fixture there.
Okay.
Businesses there with lights out that kind of helped, but right now there's no light at all.
Which business sector?
There's businesses there like, I think the probation office and all those little businesses.
The probation officer,
The seed place.
Sierra Seed, you have Gama's, which is a custom agent. Then you have what used to be the painter, Cubillas was it? Those are the businesses that are.
The refrigeration business.
Okay, I'll bring it up to. I'll bring it up to.
I'd love to tell you about the Meadow Hills lights, John, but you're not paying attention to me. You really don't like me to tell you those things.
Well,
I know.
You know the problem with that Meadow Hills lights, right?
I hope we can do some this because there's water underneath them. The water lines, the electrical lines are underneath the lagunas. So we have to do something about bringing that either on top of a pole, because the last light that's on is in front of the church. And then from there, you go to Meadow Hills, and you're gonna notice all the lights are on. But it has nothing to do with the.
It's not the focal. The lines, the underground lines need to be replaced, and Unisource has indicated to me that they will not replace them. So if we want them replaced, the city would have to go in and acquire the easement, run the lines, and do all of that. I know it'd be relatively expensive, so that's the dilemma that I have in Meadow Hills lights.
John, has anybody ever looked at solar lights and stuff like that?
Yeah, so we haven't, Councilman, because typically our relationship with streetlights is with Unisource.
Yeah.
So we call Unisource and they take care of lights. So we haven't been using lights. We don't put up lights and light poles and stuff like that.
Yes, I know.
Mr. Mayor, just one more concern. Mr. Kissinger, on that welcome sign for Nogales, is that a temporary sign or is that going to be the permanent sign?
That's permanent, the sign that you currently see?
The one entering the city limits.
Right, that's a permanent sign.
Permanent sign. Thank you.
Okay. So, motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, before you adjourn, very quickly, I apologize. Just a quick update, we're starting the Noon Street project next week. The Christmas parade is scheduled for December 4th. We've already sent out the application from the permit. And then there's possibly a housing meeting next Wednesday, and we'll keep you in tune so you can adjust your schedules accordingly.
Use the word possibly.
Possibly.
I like that. Yeah. Possibly.
We'll let you know as soon as I know. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor, very quickly.
Because I remember I lead to the summit, transportation summit conference.
Yeah.
12, 13, 14 next week. Dos, no, miento, 13, 14. All right, okay, so, motion to adjourn? So moved. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All right. It's adjourned. Good night.